And no, maybe the issue was I grinded beetroot and then put it into it, so it was sort of maybe very soggy.
Could be.
That all happened, and finally I had to pat it on a what do you say, cloth, and then put it, and then only it started to work.
Acha, is it?
So lots of stuff for the last 1 hour. Hence, I couldn't see the WhatsApp.
Okay, no,
Oops. That also
it's
has got
live.
recorded.
Yeah, it's live.
That also has got recorded.
No.
Okay, fine. Masters, let's start the meditation. With divine guidance from Ramarshi Pitama Patriji, Mahavatar Babaji, Ramta Master, and all the divine beings. Let's first start with the Anapanasati meditation, starting with relaxation. Let's go over each body part and then start to relax each body part. My forehead is relaxed. Neck is relaxed. Shoulders are relaxed. Back is completely relaxed. Chest and stomach is relaxed. Hips are relaxed. Entire legs are completely relaxed. Thighs, calf muscles, knees are relaxed. Entire body is completely relaxed from head to toe. Forehead is relaxed. Neck is relaxed. Chest is relaxed. Shoulders are relaxed. Complete back is relaxed. Stomach is relaxed. Hips are relaxed. Thighs are relaxed. Knees are relaxed. Calf muscles, feet. Everything is entirely relaxed and relaxed and relaxed. Let's start the Anapanasati meditation with this beautiful relaxation of the body. Observe your breath. Simple, natural breath. Incoming and outgoing breath. If your thoughts are more, relax the body some more and then come back to the breath. The more you relax your body, the better you'll
much
be
work,
able to.
right? Plan பண்ணி பண்ண ஆரம்பி. நான் முடிச்சிட்டு வரேன்.
Continue the Anapanasati meditation. Masters, at the count of 5, keep your palms on your eyes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and open your eyes with a beautiful smile. Hello, welcome to day 30. We finished one solid month, 30 days on this divine design. And I'm also pretty excited to actually finish this 1 month. And so much of learning, so much of growth. It's actually phenomenal. Okay, let us start 11.5. Okay, last time we read this part, creating the hybrid being. We discussed what are hybrid beings, and then I said that it was basically a mix of the human DNA and the other race's DNA, right? And they explored two options in creating the hybrid physical forms. They said option 1 was implanting the human egg or sperm into the 4D being. The host will be the 4D being. The option 2 was the human being was the host of the 4D for the baby. So let's talk about the first one, which is impregnating a 4D being. The first option required the light codes in DNA from the human egg or the sperm to be implanted into the 4D being. The process of implanting the human light codes was not difficult. They used light technologies similar to the ones used by the beings performing experiments on humans. These high-frequency light tools could remove the eggs and sperms without any physical harm to the human body. First, they would remove the egg or sperm from the body, and then they would energetically remove the light codes from the egg or the sperm DNA and implant the codes into specific DNA within the 4D being. So basically, they would remove the egg and the sperm, and then they would energetically remove the light codes from those, because DNA is present in every body part, right? So they would remove the light codes from the DNA of those eggs and sperm DNA, and then put that into the DNA, which is put that light codes into specific DNA, which is inside the 4D being. The 4D beings held DNA similar to the 3D human beings. Remember, these races were designed millions of years ago by HTCs. These collectives knew how we designed and created the 5D human beings. They knew how light codes could condense down into structures that could create the physical forms. The HTCs created all the 4D races using the same DNA prototype as the human form. The prototype contains light codes holding an intention that shifts down into the frequency of the form being created and moves into the DNA that will create the physical form. Basically, they knew how that technology worked, which they had used in the 5D beings. So they used the same thing to create for these 4D beings also. All the 4D races and beings within the 5D and 12D grids were designed and created using the DNA prototype. So they would use the same DNA technology, and then they have created those 4D beings. Depending upon the race, the structure of the DNA would be slightly different. Some DNAs are held in strands similar to the human form. Some are held in energetic geometric shapes. The 4D races that were creating the hybrid being held, so these 4D races that were creating the hybrid, now somebody is experimenting on these whole things, right? All this hybridization. Those people had unique geometric strands of DNA, it seems, inside their body. When they were created with geometric strands. By whom? By some other HTCs. So these beings had that geometric strands. Within this DNA were specific DNA strands holding the light codes that created the 4D physical form. So what they are saying is they had some geometric strands of DNA, and within that geometric strands of DNA, there were again specific within this DNA were specific some DNA strands that were holding the light codes. So basically every light code has to be held within a strand of DNA. So here it was held together by a geometric strand of DNA. The humans also hold specific DNA that creates the human form. The difference is that the egg and the sperm holds these specific DNA codes. A human form is created when the egg and sperm merge. A 4D physical form is created when the two 4D beings come together and energetically merge their specific DNA or light codes designed to create the form. See here, what they are saying is when the 4D beings, when that baby has to be born or the impregnation has to happen, the 4D being which is having the light codes of the sperm, human sperm, and the light codes of a human egg. They would merge the light codes together like this, and then they would basically form it into one single, they would merge like the energetic aspects of the light codes. Okay, the 4D form is created when two 4D beings come together and energetically merge their specific light codes designed to create the form. Instead of an egg and sperm merging, the DNAs merge. One of the beings holds the merged set of DNA just like the humans would and hold the merged egg and sperm. So like how human beings would, like how ladies holds the merged egg and sperm, similarly there also one of the being would basically hold the merged one. To create the hybrid being, they had to merge the light codes from the egg or sperm with a specific DNA that is designed to create the 4D form. They took the light codes from the egg or sperm and inserted them directly into the specific DNA within the 4D physical form. So now the hybridization is what they are trying, right? So they took it and directly inserted them directly into the specific DNA. So they took the light codes from these egg and sperm and they put it directly into their own DNA. An energetic merging takes place when the light codes from the human's egg or sperm connect with the 4D being's DNA. Each set of DNA light codes holds different frequencies. The 3D light codes merge with the 4D light codes here. When they energetically merge, they create a unique combined new set of light codes that become a new DNA. This new set of DNA creates a new physical form that is half human and half 4D being. Okay, so here this person that gets formed because of hybridization is neither a 3D human being, is neither a 4D being. He becomes a half human, half 4D. This is what a human calls a hybrid. The hybrid being is created in a 4D frequency, not in a 3D frequency, because now they are doing all these experiments in that 4D frequency, right? So it is now in that 4D frequency. And it is not happening on the 3D frequency where human beings are there. This is because the 4D being is holding the merged set of DNA light codes within their form and they birth it in the 4D field. Plus the person who's holding this hybrid in their body is now in the 4D space. So that is why this being is also going to be a 4D hybrid. So this is the first experiment, first type of hybridization, where they took the light codes from a human and then they put it into the DNA strand of a 4D being, and there the merging took place. And because the merging was between two different kind of light codes, which was 4D light code and 3D light code, or DNA of 4D and DNA of 3D, the new outcome was a hybrid which was getting birthed in a 4D frequency, living or getting formed or growing in the 4D being who was in the 4D frequency. Okay, all at a high level. Now let's take the second example. So they had to take that the light codes from the 4D, put it into the human being who's in 3D. right? As if like they are putting it into our bodies. So the second way they created a hybrid being was by implanting the 4D being's DNA into the human egg to impregnate the human. Okay, so now they are taking the maybe a light code of a sperm or something like that and putting it into the human egg, merging it to the human egg to impregnate. This method created a hybrid that would look more human than galactic. The hybrid fetus would naturally begin to hold more 3D human characteristics because the 3D human initially held the two sets of DNA light codes within its body. The merged DNA begins to grow within 3D frequencies and 3D human body. The 4D being's DNA codes would naturally adapt to the 3D frequency within the human body, because 4D, if it is basically growing into a 3D human body, because it is again half, they would so they have tried and they have said that it's going to behave like a human body. This is similar to what happens when the light codes from the egg or sperm adapt to the 4D frequencies within the 4D being. The first 3 months, the hybrid fetus was within the 3D human form. The merged DNA formed a more 3D physical body. The same could be said about the galactic fetus. When the DNA is implanted into the 4D being, the 4D hybrid will look more galactic. So what they are saying is, when the baby happens in the human body, it looks like a human being. And when the baby happens in the body of a galactic being or the 4D being, it will look more like them only. Okay, so the looks wise, it is going to be more human. There it's going to be more hybrid, more galactic. So that is what so a galactic fetus would be at that 4D level, human fetus. So it will be like a human form, right? With the physical body and all of those things. When the DNA is implanted into a 4D being, the 4D hybrid will look more galactic. The frequency of the physical form the fetus is growing in will predict the stronger characteristics of the hybrid. The 4D beings didn't realize that implanting the human 4D being DNA would create a more human physical form. They discovered this as they were experimenting on the humans. So basically what they thought was, they thought that they will actually be able to get a galactic person here also, but here they realized that they are getting more human only and not galactic. So, but they discovered this as and when they were experimenting. They didn't realize. The 4D beings knew that they could never allow the 3D human to birth a hybrid. It would be catastrophic for the hybridization program. If the human birthed a hybrid being, it would remain in the 3D field. So what they are saying is, now these hybrids or these 4D races and all that, they are basically not coming from the source, right? They don't have a soul and those kinds of things. So because of that, a 4D being will always be in 4D only. They cannot go to 5D. They cannot go to 5D. They can drop down to 3D for a short period of time. Now, they did not realize that if they put that light codes of a hybrid into a human being, then that hybrid will constantly remain in a 3D only. He will never be able to get out to 4D at all. So which means he'll be like another human being who will neither here nor there kind of thing. He's always going to be in 3D, which they did not want to allow, because they wanted them also to be in 4D only, but more human, with human characteristics and all that. They wanted that guy also to be 4D, but he was not a 4D. It would now be only a 3D guy. So the human would have no reference point as to how it came into being. See, now we know that if we have to birth a human baby, then two people have to come together. There has to be all of these things happening, and then only now a baby is being born. Now, if they take the light codes of a galactic being and put that merge that into an egg. Now they don't. How did that girl become pregnant? Like, when did all these things happen? So it is going to become a big chaotic aspect in the human aspect, right? Because where did that baby even come from? They will start to question. They won't have any reference point as to how it actually came. It would create chaos, psychotic breaks, and hysteria. It would also become more difficult for the 4D beings to access the 3D human forms. The human would be aware of something unusual occurring. The hybrid races were created to exist in the 4D field with other 4D beings, not with humans. And even that hybrid person, right? He will also be aware, and they won't be able to access him also because he's again 3D. Here, as it is, they were trying to hide from 3D people and then doing everything in secrecy. Now, with that hybrid guy also is now in 3D and they have to hide from him, and he's no longer going to be a part of their stuff, right? It's going to be a big mess. So that is why it was not working. This option 2 was sort of not working for them. To maintain anonymity, they only let the hybrid fetus gestate within the human body for 3 months. They would then remove the hybrid fetus from the human body and implant it into the 4D being. So what they did was, first 3 months, they kept it into the human being, and then later on, they took it off and then they put it into the 4D being. Maybe then that was considered as a miscarriage, not sure. The 4D being always intended for these physical forms to exist in the 4D field, and thus they had to grow within the 4D being only and be birthed into 4D frequency. They used advanced high frequency light tools for these procedures. They were very few, if any, marks or incisions on the human body. They held every intention to prevent harm to the human beings. So they took it, they would take that fetus away and put it back into the 4D being without the person even understanding. See, I don't know what used to happen with respect to their periods and all of those things. I mean, now that we can question all that, we can. But I'm not sure about that. But then within 3 months, the stomach also wouldn't have come up and all that. So maybe they would just remove. But yeah, maybe some people will think, oh, I did not get my periods for 3 months. What do I do? Should I go to a doctor and all that? Meanwhile, there is a baby that is being birthed in their stomach. Oh God. So this is the reason humans never saw the hybrid races in the 3D field. They were birthed and experienced within the 4D field. So the human body that was holding this hybrid fetus would either think they were pregnant, or have no idea they were pregnant. If they thought they were pregnant, they would have no idea it was a hybrid. When the 4D beings extracted the fetus from the human body, the human would experience what is called a miscarriage. However, it wasn't the passing of the fetus that occurred, it was the passing of the tissues that remained in the empty sac the fetus had been held in. So they were only for passing the physical aspects of the uterus cleansing, but they really did not. So the energy aspect of the fetus, the 4D body, okay, the 4D body of that fetus, right, had already moved out. So the 3D, which now did not hold any, which did not had any connection, that used to die, and that was passed as a miscarriage. It was more. So now, for example, let's say now this hybrid did not they didn't have a partner and all that. No, the lady did not have a partner and all of those kinds of things in this particular case. Imagine there are so many cases where there are so many cases who come with complicated, let's say, heavy bleeding and those kinds of issues and all, right? I mean, we can possibly imagine all kinds of scenarios as to why a person might undergo a miscarriage kind of situation. So why would they even think it's a miscarriage if they did not even understand that there was a pregnancy in the first place, right? So they wouldn't even call that a miscarriage from the 3D aspect. They would maybe think it is some kind of periods issue, and there is heavy bleeding and those kinds of things. It was much more complicated, however, to implant the human than it was the 4D being. The 3D human had a very difficult time holding the 4D DNA in their body. It wouldn't always connect and merge with the egg. The human was vibrating in a lower 3D frequency, and it was challenging for the body to hold a higher dimensional light code. They had to experiment on many human beings to have one successful implantation. What the 4D human beings began to do was find human forms that were vibrating in a higher frequency. They knew that if they had human bodies that were holding higher frequencies, holding frequencies closer to 4D, it would be easier for the human to hold the 4D DNA. Their frequency and field were closer to the DNA that were implanted into the form. Over the next 4,500 linear years, the 4D beings were able to use thousands of humans without their conscious awareness to create new hybrid beings, which means the mother's egg and their light codes and all that came from the mother of a human, but it was actually birthed in a 4D field, right? So many of such things have happened, and they did it for about 4,500 linear years, it seems. Now the human and the hybrid connection. Most humans who were part of the hybridization program were either being impregnated or having sperms or eggs dissected from the body, were unconscious to any participation their body had with the program. There is, however, a unique energetic connection between the human and the hybrid being that they were part of creating. There is an energetic cord that is created from the human's light codes to the hybrid's light codes. This cord moves through dimensions, connecting the 3D human to the 4D hybrid. Wow. For example, if a male's sperm was used to create the hybrid being, they both shared the same DNA. The light codes within the shared DNA created the energetic cord connecting the hybrid to the male, 4D hybrid, to the male that is living on Earth. The bond became even stronger if a woman carried the hybrid fetus within her body for a few months. Not only does the woman share the same DNA, and thus it is connected through shared light codes, but she held the fetus within her form. The woman may not have any awareness of being pregnant or losing the fetus, but there will always be an energetic connection as well as an unconscious feeling that she has a child who is not physically with her. This energetic cord is usually unconscious. However, it is possible for the human to be awakened into a memory. They may feel as if they had a child who is not with them, or there is a child they are connecting with, but they are not sure how, why, or where. It is a strange feeling for a human to connect to a hybrid child. The human is awakening into a memory. It is so unconscious and surreal that they rarely recollect any experience of being in the hybridization program. It is uncommon for any human to reconnect with a hybrid child, but it is possible. Yeah, maybe if they go to the higher level of consciousness, then maybe they'll be able to connect. If a human consciously recollects or recalls being part of the hybridization program, it will feel like a dream. They won't have any physical proof, but they can feel it. This is because the hybrid child and the human are connected through the energetic cord. If there is any contact at all, it is the dream state through the etheric body. This is because most 3D human beings are not holding high enough frequency to physically see a 4D hybrid on Earth. All contact must be in the 4D field until the human is anchored into the 4D field while on the 3D Earth. So until they go to 4D, they will not be able to connect to that child that they actually have this connection with. Until then, the dream state is the access point for contact. During the dream state, the higher self assists the human's etheric body into the dimensional field and the planet the hybrid child is on, and they connect. I mean, this is actually true because even when the child dies, in a regular lifestyle also, if a child dies or anybody dies, typically such connections continue to happen in the dream state, and they meet people who are passed on and all, they meet them during those times, but they don't remember once they come back. The human will wake up and either remember what occurred or will have no memory of the experience. The 3D human will only be able to physically engage and see a hybrid in the 3D field when the 3D human collective is anchored into high D frequencies. We would like to preface here that currently there are 4D, 5D, and 6D hybrid beings on the 12D grid. Wow. Super. We are not discussing the history of how all these hybrids were created. We are merely sharing what occurred in the last 4,500 years on the Earth plane, as if as it had a significant impact on where humanity find themselves now. I mean, we are basically discussing in today's times, we are slowly getting comfortable with the idea of people marrying across religions. That is sort of happening of late. It has been happening for quite some time now. And we are slowly getting comfortable. And then we have also got comfortable with cross-country marriages, which means across races of human beings itself. Let's say Indian marrying an American, or Indian marrying other country people, or American or African marrying an Indian. So all those combinations also we have done. And now we are going intergalactic. We are saying people from Earth are going to be there is no concept of marriage. So there is, let's say, such cross references that are sort of happening. And they are saying that now there are 4D hybrids, 5D hybrids, 6D hybrids, all on the 12D grid. So interesting. 11.6, implants. While the abduction and hybridization programs were occurring, another powerful experiment was taking place. The 4D races began implanting the human form with devices, allowing them to gain control over humanity. The implantation program began about 1,000 linear years ago, and it had the most devastating impact on the Earth and humanity. Implanting humans with devices to control them pulled the Earth and humanity's frequency down quicker than any other program. It also played a pivotal role in physically destroying parts of the Earth plane. This program was designed by the 4D beings with the intention of controlling and participating in the 3D field without being in the 3D field. They knew that, see, like the very intention of creating a human body in the physical was to basically experience the physical by being inside a human body. Similarly, here also the same thing is happening, right? They want the human body that is already ready-made in the 3D. They want to control them. And so now implantation was the connection that they had. They knew that they couldn't physically appear. It would create too much chaos. They had to find a way to be part of the third dimension without physically being in it. They discovered that high-frequency devices implanted into the human could allow the beings to control the human beings and thus participate and impact the third dimensional field. You can imagine the implants as remote controls. The 4D beings could control and manipulate human behavior, thoughts, and even emotional states while they remain in the 4D field. Each race created their own devices and held unique energetic pulses. The device, once implanted into the human, would send out energetic pulses connecting the 4D human beings to the human. Only the race that connected energetically to the pulse could control and activate the implant. Okay, only the race that connected energetically to the pulse could control and activate the implant. This allowed for exclusivity between races and their specific impacts on humans. So which means that of all 4D races put their respective implants, and then based on the frequency they generated, that kind of implant only used to be active. The 4D beings implanted, see how today we are doing experiments on animals, controlling all of these kinds of things that we are doing, right? But if we were also a victim, and we really don't know if currently also things are going on yet, but everything has been happening. What happened to us, we have also been doing that to the animals. Today we are doing that, no? We are doing experiments on animals. Animal cruelty is on the high, and we do all these cosmetic testings and many such chemical testing on animals so that it works for us. The 4D beings implanted the device into the human body using the same technique as the abduction and hybridization program. They accessed the human body through the dream state, shifted the body into 4D field, moved it through the portal, and performed the experiment in the same 4D rooms that were created for abduction and hybridization programs. The devices were physical for the 4D beings, but translucent, almost transparent when inserted into the 3D human body. The 3D human being would not be able to detect or see these devices within them. The 4D beings would surgically insert the devices under the skin of the human being. The surgery was energetic, not physical. They used advanced high frequency light instruments to open the skin and move the device into the body. There wasn't any tearing or physical intrusion on the skin. The device was in the higher frequency than the human body. So it was almost impossible for the human to detect it. See, today there are so much of discussion about I think when the 5D what do you say thing and all came, broadcasting and all that, not broadcasting, what is it called, what are these things called, cell phone tower, 5D towers and all of that, right? When it came, they actually said that many of these things are going to create some implants into us and control us and all that. Actually, it has been happening for a very long time, and then now only we are coming to know about it. And then now we are thinking that we will protect ourselves from any of these implants. Please don't don't use Wi-Fi. Please don't use this. Please don't use that. Haven't we already been a victim of all of these kinds of things in the past? But now we are waking up to the fact that, and we are blaming all our own technologies, our own simple technologies, and we are saying that that is only going to harm us. But actually, so many other things have already been done, and then we are only waking up to all these kinds of technologies only now. But we have already been victim to all of these things. We, in the sense, the body has been a victim to all that in the past already. Of course, here HTCs, see how all these things impact the HTC is, they came with a certain plan, but then this body is now used left, right, and center for something else. There's so much of intervention that is happening here. Higher self is aware about all of these things, but then it can't control it, because now the human body, higher self is also depending on the human body. In 3D, what happens? We clearly said that the higher self doesn't have direct control on the human body. It is hoping that the human body would get intuitive messages from the higher self and then work on that. Okay, so now the higher self is also sending in some intuitive messages. Now there are other beings also sending some other messages. Now this human being can do whatever he wants. So in that sense, because of that, there was a lot of uncertainty. So if one takes a human body and comes to 3D field, what will happen was becoming very unclear, isn't it? So unless one had to get to a state where you have to come through knowledge and understand that I shouldn't be responding to certain frequencies like this or certain behaviors, which is why all our books are loaded with information about don't behave like this, this is bad, that is good, this is positive, this is negative. So much of information, so much of text, so much of avatars have come just to keep telling and telling and telling about, so that they could wake us up, and hopefully we are able to listen to the voice of the soul, and that could supersede, right? And you are not being controlled. For example, like recently when I was seeing reels on I have since I have my Instagram page and all that, I used to also see some of these reels, maybe cooking stuff and all that I would see. Then suddenly yesterday I was basically seeing, and then I had this sudden awareness that the reel is basically controlling me and I'm not in control. I had that I had somehow that awareness that I am not in control. I'm getting carried over. We all know this, right? It's not like it's not something new. When we are typically on Facebook, or when we are on any kind of social media platform, there is always a barrage of information that is constantly coming, and it keeps us hooked onto something or the other. And every single thing is damn interesting. And every single cooking show is interesting. Whether you cook it or no, I don't use oil in my cooking. Despite that, I used to see some of these things, and then it used to be interesting because some unique ideas also used to be there. I mean, I was thinking, okay, I wanted to sit and meditate, but then I did not know where time went. I wanted to sit and do gratitude. I did not know where time went. So yesterday I had this sort of strange feeling that my energy was getting drained out while looking at these reels, because I used to feel that in the last few days that when I did watch a lot of Cell, I would have been a little relatively tired in that day. And I just started to observe myself, and that's what I noticed, that if I'm engaging myself in draining activities, then it will show. Now, what are these energy vampires? These energy vampires are those which is basically not helping you build in any form. You're not building your knowledge, you're not building yourself in any way, but you are basically continuing to get sucked up in some kind of program, right? So I then refused to see any reels. I have done this in the past, but then it was mostly where I'd given a promise to my daughter that I'll not see. It was more of that, but then that promise did not last. It diluted. So eventually now I somehow felt that, okay, maybe, yeah, there, these are the energy vampires that we are talking about. It's not that somebody's trying, you forget about whether people trying to control or no. Are you in control of what you are doing? Till now, even I was on some, let's say, on some robotic program. Even my head was robotic, let's say. But now, when I understand that, okay, I'm no longer, I should not be robotic, I should really be mindful. And seeing reels really does not matter, because I've seen that even if I've saved a lot of recipes, ultimately, every single day I open the fridge, I see what is in my tray, or these are the vegetables that are there in the tray. I would do exactly the same thing I would do every single time, which is that typical stuff that we constantly keep doing. More often than not, maybe some jugaad here and there, but then more often than not, you're using exactly the same kinds of things. You're not literally like recreating something new because somebody else did it. It feels nice when you see those posts, but then I've realized that very rarely I'm actually implementing those things. So these are the energy vampires that you need to talk about. So when in many forms, there are energy vampires that can actually hold you back in the 3D. It is not because they don't like you or something like that. It is just a part of survival, right? Somebody is trying to survive, somebody is trying to, and in let's say there is a container, right? In a container there is some energy. Whether the energy moves from this side of the container to this side of the container, it's still inside the container only, right? So you can imagine this whole cosmos to be like that energy container. Whether the energy is now in the 4D being or whether the energy is in the 3D being, ultimately it is still inside the container and it is still balanced only, right? If you look at it from that perspective, everything is that Paramatma himself. So now it depends on what you want to do. As you want to connect with your higher self? Do you want to get manipulated? So which is why we are getting so much of information from every single point, that you need to work on yourself, you need to be mindful, you need to watch what you're doing, you need to watch what you're saying. And now they've given a set of rules. Okay, let's say Bhagavad Gita has a set of rules, or maybe wherever you go, Upanishads, Bible, something or the other, they are all telling a certain things, certain set of rules. More or less, they all match. Like more or less, they all match. And everybody is saying be mindful. Everybody is saying be meditate, go to higher frequencies, wake up, so that you can understand what you are up to. You can understand that you are not being controlled. You're like, otherwise you'll just take body after body after body, and then you'll keep coming back to 3D, because you're not finishing off those kinds of experiences. Because once you get into 3D, what is happening? Your plan is also not working anyway most of the time, and that's what maybe is happening. So because there are so many other distractions that are also factored in, maybe. Okay, it's slightly challenging if you see, but the only alternative that we can see as of now is to follow some of these fundamental protocols: detachment, acceptance, and the more you behave like a soul and don't attach yourself and then generate a lot of emotions within yourself. Because if you generate unnecessary emotions, which are 3D emotions, more often than not, what actually happens is somebody is feeding on it. So the lesson that we are being taught more often than not is, let it happen. You be a part of it. You enjoy a part of you be a part of whatever experience that is coming, but just watch it. Don't get carried away by it and then react to it and all of that. Just watch it. Accept that every single experience can happen in the body and you are only a witness. So that way, whether it is X, whether it is Y, whether it is Z, any experience will continue to keep happening to the human body, and you will only be a witness of whatever happens in the human body. You're like, you're in the, let's say 10,000, 5,000 years back, this was the status in the 3D, and the HTC is getting that experience. 5,000 years later, so many experiments and all that have happened. This is now how the 3D field looks like. That experience is also happening. But then 5,000 years back later, before versus now, HTC is still he's not dead or something, right? So HTC is here only to accept experiences. So it is important to understand not to get carried away by human emotions, but to only watch them, enjoy with them, and not be attached to them. Whether it is children, also don't be attached. Whether it is parents, also don't be attached. Don't be attached means when they are, whatever duty you have to do towards them, do it, because that is an experience you need to cherish. Then now let's say there are some things that you don't like. Watch that also as if something that you have, if there is a part of you which really did certain kind of experience, you experienced certain things when you liked it. Similarly, approach something that you don't like also as an experience only. Don't try to avoid this and try to come back to this, because then you are stuck in 3D and you are more manipulative, right? Your body can be more manipulated. So once the device was held within the human form, these beings could access the brain and the energy fields within the human body. They could alter the brain chemistry and manipulate the way humans evaluated an experience and response the human would have to that experience. This allowed them the ability to alter the human's behavior, thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. They could also shift the human's energetic field down into lower frequencies, impacting how the human experiences the world. When a human body is in the lower frequency, they are not in as much control over their free will and choice. They are in a heightened sense of amnesia and powerlessness. The human is unconscious to the amnesia. They believe that they are in control of their choice. However, the lower a body's frequency, the less conscious a human is to the choice they are making. Like, for example, recently some people had come home, and uncle had seen the magic book. Okay, he was in my mother's house, and then he saw the magic book and he was very interested. He's sort of spiritual in some way, so he was interested and he was reading and all that. But auntie is not so spiritual. I mean, she does her stuff and all that, but she's more like a baby soul kind of thing, baby soul, toddler soul. So I don't really go into preaching mode to anybody, even if unless they ask me something, I don't go into teaching mode at all, or sharing mode also I don't really go at all, because I think that unless somebody asks, there is no such contract between us to basically give and take. So I am in my general, I'll just talk stuff. Then they asked about this, and then I started to tell that what gratitude is and all of those things. I was actually seeing that even when I was telling, it was not going through inside auntie. She would constantly come back to the state where she would remember. She would say, yeah, all this is okay, but what do you tell about my brothers calling me and then giving me this experience? I didn't ask for that experience. I did not even want the part of that property, but they called me and they insulted me. So I was telling auntie, it's okay, just leave it, blah, blah, blah. You do your gratitude. I was telling, it was actually not entering. In Immortal Talks also, I think I've told you this before. Hanuman comes and then the person who sees Hanuman is trying to communicate to his wife, Hanuman has come, Hanuman has come. He's telling Hanuman has come, but she's actually not, because again, their energy fields are not ready to take that message also, right? So that is what we are talking about. So it is when people go into those kinds of lower frequencies, it is very difficult to even get through, unless, so we cannot do anything but to wait for the sun and such things to raise their frequency, because you giving gyan into them is not going to raise their frequency. They meditating might help them raise their frequency, they chanting might help them raise their frequency, but you giving gyan into them, pushing some stuff into them, will not raise their frequency, because that also has to pass through that filter. So you cannot change people. You cannot change people. It is so difficult, especially when they are in that lower frequency, right? You will feel helpless, especially when you have this attachments and all of that. You see that my parents are this blah blah blah. They oh, so beautiful. I'm getting all this great information. It's helping me so much. I wish I could teach them. I wish I could guide them. I wish I could tell all this to them. You are trying your best, but they are not able to receive. Like one of my client also, she wanted to help her father going through cancer and all, with all this juices stuff and all of those things. She tried, and then it worked for some time, and then he slightly got in a better condition, in the sense it was not too worse. The living conditions got better, not the cancer or anything. But then when her brother came back, he told, she's actually she's actually bothering me with all these juices and fruits and all of those things. I really want some meat. I really want some this and that, he told. So this, and so until now, what she was thinking, oh yeah, my father is actually now in a very good state of acceptance. No, he could not cook himself. He could not do anything. So he just took what she gave. But internally, he still believed that he needed meat. He needed the protein and whatever it is, right? It is, I'm not talking about right or wrong. I'm just saying everybody is in a certain frequency, and whatever is in their belief system, that only will play. So when a human body is in the lower frequency, they are not in as much control over their free will, and they will feel they are in the heightened state of amnesia and powerlessness. The human is unconscious to the amnesia. They believe that they are in the control of their choices. Over the lower body's frequency, the less conscious a human is to the choices that they are making. The 4D beings knew that to lower the human's energy field is to lower their ability to control their choices. This allowed the beings to control the choices of the human being. So typically like a slave. See, here the HDCs are maybe getting impacted in that sense, where the evolution is getting delayed. But the HDCs themselves are not being harmed in this process. So the bodies are being manipulated, which is why, see, if the HTC was getting manipulated, the HTC was getting harmed in the process, then that would have been a different story itself. But then here the bodies are getting harmed and bodies are getting manipulated. So in that sense, it was like, let's say I have a toy, somebody else comes and also plays with that toy. Something like that. The human with the implant would not be consciously aware of what was occurring. They would be in an unconscious state, believing how they were feeling and experiencing the world was a choice they were making. They would feel as if they were in control. Humans around them, however, would notice the difference in their behavior. They would feel as if the human had been taken over by something or someone else. The 4D human beings were able to control the human's thoughts, behaviors, emotions through their mind and energetic field. Hundreds of thousands of humans were implanted with these devices over the last 4,500 years. The power and control these beings had over humanity led to war, physical destruction of the earth, and the destruction of civilizations. It was the most powerful mind control we had ever seen. It was the humans who created war and destroyed the earths and civilizations. The 4D beings simply controlled these humans from the 4D field. We had never seen anything like that before and had not anticipated that the 4D beings would introduce this type of advanced mind control into the 3D field. The abduction and hybridization and implantation programs all played a significant role in slowly pulling humanity and Earth plane to a lower frequency. However, another group of 4D beings on the Earth also played a significant role during this time. Humanity refers to these beings as reptilians. I just start the chapter 12. The reptilians and the humanoid. The reptilians' intention for entering the 5D grid were to understand the energy within the human form. They were curious about the way energy was held within the human body and how to access and use it for their own purposes. They knew that energy was light, and light was a life force for other consciousnesses, including reptilians. Light created more power or more abilities for a consciousness. If reptilians could pull energy from the humans, they could then increase their own life force and create more power. When we talk about power, we don't mean control. Instead, we are referring to a being feeling more energetic frequencies within their own form, becoming more alive and electric. It would feel similar to the human receiving a burst of endorphins so that their body feels high or in an altered state. Maybe bliss. This is what occurs for the reptilians when they access the energy within the human form. Pulling the energy out of the human. The reptilian races began to experiment with the human by energetically pulling energy out of the human form through the 7th energy center, the crown chakra. The humans were unaware this was occurring. The human body is in the frequencies that provide amnesia. Remember, the lower a human body's frequency, the higher is the human's amnesia. The human's ability to feel and understand what is occurring within and around their energetic field is limited. They are unconscious to their sovereignty and their ability to control what moves in and around their field also. The reptilians were able to infiltrate the human body without conscious consent because of the human's amnesia. This was very different from the abduction, hybridization, and implantation programs. The galactic races performed experiments on human body. They never took the human energetic life force. The reptilians' energies energetically moved into the human's energy field and pulled the human's light out of their channel. This type of engagement with the human was much more invasive and destructive than any of the galactic programs. The reptilians entered the human energetic field in such a way that has caused many human beings in their current lifetime to have a hard time opening their 7th energy center and trusting they are safe and sovereign in their body. They have cellular memories of lifetimes where these reptilians had infiltrated their field and body to pull out their energy life force out of them. The reptilian technique was simple. They did not have to shift the humans or their energetic field. They merely energetically entered the human's energy field, accessed the human's channel through the 7th energy center, and then gently pulled the light from the human body out through the channel. Once the reptilians understood this technique, they began pulling the light from thousands of human bodies. Remember, if you've seen Harry Potter, have you seen what Dementors do? The concept of Dementors, right? The Dementors would suck up all the concept of Dementors was they would suck up light, white or light from any human being or any being, right? That was they would just suck it. And when the moment they suck it, all that happiness and goodness that you have inside you will go. The moment all that happiness and goodness inside you will go, that life force is actually giving you that sense of well-being, right? So that sense of well-being itself drops and then you become like that, right? So they watched as their own power and energy within their forms increased. The human was unaware of the energy being drawn out from them, but they did experience many physical symptoms. The act of pulling light of the human body caused the brain to slow down, which caused disorientation, nausea, headaches, dizziness, flu-like symptoms, vertigo, or zombie-like behaviors. They would have difficulty finishing sentences or doing daily tasks. This is mostly like brain fog. There were many physical, mental, and emotional symptoms of reptilians infiltrating their bodies and pulling out their own life force. It was rare, it was rare, but in some cases, the human body died. The human body runs on light. Although it was never the intention of the reptilians to shut down the human body, if they were not careful, they could pull out too much of the human's light out of the body, which could shut it down completely. 12.2. The reptilian races would also move directly into the human form and remain within the body. This allowed them continuous access to the human's light. It was much more potent and powerful way of obtaining the energy. It also provided the reptilian the ability to control the human minds, which inadvertently controlled their emotions, behaviors, and thoughts. This technique of moving into the human body was much more challenging than just pulling the energy from the human body. Entering the human form required the reptilians to hold themselves in the body energetically. They experienced themselves in the human form. This was all done energetically, not physically. Once in the body, they would take over the body. The HTCs that incarnated into the human body would be overlaid by the reptilian consciousness. It was as if the HTCs was in a timeout while the reptilian energy was in the body. Remember, the human is unconscious to their free will and innate abilities to remain sovereign and command these beings out of their bodies. The higher self may try to get the human's attention through guidance, but the human is unaware of this guidance also. They won't make the decision to command the reptilian out of their bodies. I mean, this part, I think they call them suras and asuras and all that. I think I've already explained that in the class. And this part has been explained in the Immortal Talks. Although the human was generally unaware of what was occurring, many had an unconscious response to the reptilian energies within their body, experiencing a purging process like a flu. The reptilians combated these physical reactions by energetically manipulating the human brain to quiet the mind and energetic connection the human was having to the reptilian energy within their body. It was not easy for the reptilian energy to be inside the human body. Many reptilians choose to pull the energy out of the body instead of residing in the human body. The reptilians that did move into the human form did so not just for the constant flow of life force, but to control the human's emotions, thoughts, and behaviors and choices. This simple action of reptilian energies moving into the human body was by far the most devastating experience for humanity. It had the largest and longest impact for the human collective. Okay, we will stop here. Or let me finish it off. The creation of humanoids. After a few thousands years of interacting with the human form, the reptilians eventually began to create their own hybrid race called the humanoids. They saw how the galactic races were creating new races and wanted to follow suit. They abducted human forms and created the hybrid being in a way similar to galactic races' methods. They entered the human's room and shifted the body to 4D field. However, the reptilians had their own portals and created an access to shift themselves and the body into the 4D field. The portals led to 4D rooms within the Earth plane and the 4D planets the reptilians existed on while in the 5D grid. Both the rooms and the planets were used to perform the experiments. Once they had the human body in the room or in the planet, they extracted the light codes from the egg or the sperm and implanted it into a reptilian. The reptilian light codes merged with the human's light codes, and the humanoid began to form with the reptilian. Once the humanoid was completely formed, the reptilian birthed the hybrid into the 4th dimension. The original humanoids looked more like reptilians than humans. They were vibrating in a lower 4-dimensional frequency field and existed in that dimension. Most original humanoids were birthed and lived in the 4D planets, even if they were created in 4D rooms. There were many planets at this time that held thousands of humanoid races being created by the reptilians. Over time, the reptilians began implanting the humanoids with the human DNA to create a new race of humanoids. First of all, human and reptilian became humanoid. Now, human and humanoid became another race of humanoid. After a few thousand years, as the reptilians continue to implant new humanoid races with human DNA, They created a race that was high 3D dimensional frequency. This humanoid was no longer being birthed in the 4D, it was birthed in the 3D. A new 3D humanoid race was created that could exist and be seen by the human eye. They looked human and were able to walk among the humans. However, they still had reptilian DNA and could tap into lower 4D field. The reptilian DNA kept them connected to the 4D field, while the human DNA kept them anchored in the 3D field. We were astonished by what all they were able to create. The humanoids innately held within them the same desires to experiment and control the 3D field as the reptilians. Once the new 3D humanoids were in the 3D field, they began participating in greed, control, manipulation, war, and more. Many of these humanoids were able to control large groups of people. They were able to persuade them to do, think, and believe as they wished. The humanoids excelled in mind control. Humanoids were human but held slightly different characteristics. They could be charismatic, but they were more robotic in nature. Many did not socialize with the human population. They could feel very dark or what the human called evil. They didn't quite fit in and had odd reactions and responses to the way the world operated. When humans encountered a humanoid, most will feel comfortable with them. After thousands of years, the reptilians were able to create humanoid races that were in the 4D field on the 4D planet, and a few unique 3D humanoid races that were able to walk among the humans. Of all the programs that occurred during this time, it was the reptilians entering into the human and creation of the 3D humanoids that had the most devastating impact. In fact, to this day, humanity is still being controlled not only by reptilians that entered into the human form, but also the 3D humanoid races. Summary. Over the last 4,500 years, the 4D galactic reptilian beings were slowly pulling humanity and Earth into lower frequencies. We watched as hundreds of thousands of human abductions and experiments took place. Over 60 hybrid races were created. Implants were used on thousands of human beings to control and manipulate their behavior. The human life force was being pulled out by the reptilians. There were race wars in the 4D field, and new 3D humanoid races were physically on the 3D plane. This was, by all accounts, the most tumultuous and traumatic time in the Earth's 3D history. We refer to this as Earth's second fall from grace. This was the first time since Earth began in the 3D field that her light quotient and humanity's collective frequency shifted down. We watched as the humanity went through the most destructive period of its third dimensional existence. Okay, we'll stop here and we'll start chapter 13 from tomorrow. Okay, everybody's in shock. Do you still have questions? Yes, Sangeeta.
We know that 4D beings originally were designed to stay in 4D always. Then how were the 5D and 6D hybrid beings created then? Because of
in those environments they were created. I don't know how those were created. Maybe again crosses happened there.
Okay.
That they did not explain, no? Maybe in other books, some of these things may have been explained. Actually, there is one Dolores Cannon's book called Abduction. Maybe there, she has a lot of these books because she was into past life regressions. And she was able to talk to the higher self of people who came to her with lots of different issues. And the higher self would tell her what all happened in their journey. And why is that trauma that they are carrying? Because they would obviously come to her with some issue only, right? So when they came to her with that issue, and then she would go through past life regressions and such things with them, then they would tell the story. At a higher self level, it would be accessed. And then she would get to know about all these things. Like that, she has actually written a lot of books about all of these kinds of things.
So she could get in touch with the higher self of other people.
Yeah.
Okay.
She had that kind of skill.
At one point, it was mentioned that 4D races were more interested in the 3D humans who have lower frequency, so that they are not able to see them.
Yeah.
But later on, it was mentioned that they were now interested in 3D humans with higher frequency
See, they were
for the fetus, hybrid fetus.
Exactly. For the hybridization program, they wanted 4D beings with human nature and human all of those kinds of things. But they don't want people to again go to 3D, right? Nobody wants 3D. Right? Even 4D beings did not want to go to 3D because that amnesia is like really high, right? So they wanted some human aspects in their 4D beings itself, in their 4D. And now if the human is birthing, they realize that that is going to become a 3D fetus only, no? So they tried to look for people who were in the higher frequency and then hold that DNA, hold that for 3 months and all that. And then they would take it away from them.
But then the initial challenge that they had tried to avoid, that humans should not be able to see them, they didn't mention what happened to that. Did they actually face that challenge? Or?
See, in our case itself, take in general life itself, when you're working on something, you wouldn't have even thought about doing something. You would have gone with a certain set of principles. And then later on, as you continue to work through that project or something like that, you'll realize that may now be necessary. And then you will go and then go against the rule that you only create. Because it is
so that precaution was not so important.
Yeah, because we don't start off with a project plan and we go, as the days pass, the project plan is also constantly being improvised at certain milestones.
And maybe I missed that part, but why did they have the hybrid fetus for 3 months in human and then move it to the 4D being instead of impregnating the 4D being and having the fetus throughout in the 4D being?
It's like they wanted to see how it works. Okay. See, they tried both the approaches. When they tried the first approach, it worked, where the 4D being was anyway doing it. When the human had to carry the fetus, they realized that is going to be a 3D being. But they don't want their people to, at least the races who create the galactic races and all of those things who started that, they did not want their people to be in the 3D.
Yeah, that is clear. Yeah.
So which is why, but they wanted to try that option too. So they made that baby the fetus stay in the womb for 3 months, and then they implanted that into the 4DB.
So was there any additional advantage of option 2 compared to option 1?
I think they were just trying, and then whatever worked out, they just did. See, in this whole process, the only thing that you can constantly keep seeing is curiosity. Curiosity, what will happen? What will happen? If I do this, what will happen? If I do that, what will happen? There is nothing called good or bad. Nobody is even questioning themselves also about good or bad in this whole process.
So in a way, independent HTCs are trying to act as if they are GFOL and trying to do creations on their own, at their own level.
See,
so even if they come from a higher dimension background, they still have the emotion of control and power, it seems. That 3D, 4D power.
You can say control because you have a belief system that calls it control. What if a person doesn't know it's called control, and the word control itself is rather interfering in somebody else's thing and making them do what you want them to do is called control? What if they don't even know that and they're still figuring out that. It's all about learning process, about what each of these spectrums of consciousness will do, right?
Mm.
If you tell a baby, if a baby goes and tries to control some other child and say, don't control them, then what will that baby understand anyway?
So maybe we should try to understand the way that 4D beings and reptilian,
Yeah, reptilians is
both
another
of
planet.
them were already in 4D, where control is an emotion in 4D.
Yes,
It's
control
not
is
that
an
the
emotion.
HTC connected to them are controlling things.
See, HTCs created the 4D races in the first place, right? Why? Because they didn't want to be in 4D, 3D and all that and
Mm.
learn about 4D, 3D. They sent their own representatives.
Mm. Yeah. Okay.
And they
Another.
watched. See, ultimately, everybody is HTCs are learning only by watching. Bodies are getting destroyed, bodies are getting manipulated, bodies are going left, right, and center. And 4D races are bodies only.
Like when we
Bodies
play
at various
chess,
levels.
we don't get emotional about players getting knocked down.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
just playing.
HTCs are all
Mm.
watching. Nobody is
Mm.
actually like literally playing a role. They are using bodies, 4D bodies, and they are basically working out this whole thing.
We also talked about energy cords between the 3D human and the 4D hybrid, which is not visible at 3D level, but it can be visible when the human evolves to 4D.
Visible cord is not visible. Cord, they're saying that if you have an energetic connection with somebody, for example, let's say you are constantly, for example, let's say Ravan. Ravan did not like Ram. Even he did not even use the word Ram. He always had a strong energetic connection with Ram because he used to hate Ram. He still had an energetic connection like that.
Okay.
If you think about somebody, you will have a connection. So
that 3D human will come to know about this connection only when they are in the 4D form or at a higher frequency of 3D. Yeah. Okay. One last question. We talked about portals, and these portals can be good or bad. I mean, nothing is good or bad. No, they just created portals to enter into 3D. So some portals were used by reptilians, and some portals were used by good HTCs that wanted to help Earth to elevate. So what is bad here? Where humans are exploited. Yeah, if you take the side of humans, then you can call it exploitation. If you don't take the side of anybody, then you will just say, there was a So I, as a human, if I
you are not a human.
I'm a HTC. Yeah. Okay. So now we know there are various energy centers on planet Earth, and there are portals. Now, if we visit one of the energy centers, without knowing if they were used for a noble purpose or a not so noble purpose, can it affect us? We don't know what kind of portals we'll go visit. It's up to us. If we get a feeling of going somewhere, then we will go. Like I think there is a temple in southern India where women are not allowed, and sometime I heard a talk from Sadhguru that women should not go there. That temple was a place which was used for some rituals. We don't know like that. What I can only say is there are portals, and then there are portals. I mean, you can make a judgment and maybe you can go to places. If you feel like there is a calling, go. Everything is an experience. Just go. Like Machu Picchu was also a portal, perhaps, where the author of this book got the download. If there is another portal where something wrong was done earlier, and we go there by accident, and we don't go anywhere by accident. We go there because we want to go. Contract. Okay.
No, not contract. There is a energy frequency somewhere, it is matching. That is why we are going somewhere. So we need to understand where like sometimes we get pulled into many directions. Sometimes, I mean, I can't say what is right or wrong here. We just have to think and go.
Is there a way to know if a person is a human or a humanoid? No. And humans don't have contracts with reptilians or with the 4D beings.
I don't think so, because it's at the soul level.
So if Ravan was a humanoid, assuming he was a humanoid, he may or may not have any contact. Then he might not have any contracts with Ram.
Ravan, I mean, if you look at the books and other things, Ravan was actually a soul only. And there's a lot of history about his incarnations and all of those things with Vishnu.
Okay, not Ravan. Okay, then maybe Hitler, some villain of our time. Okay, we'll see how the story evolves.
See,
Thank you.
even now, right, in this process of evolution, if you hear many people, you will only hear these kind of stories only. That wake up to ascension ASAP. If you don't wake up to ascension, if you don't do such things, you will be manipulated, you will be controlled, you'll become a zombie. All that only they are telling of late. Those kinds of teachings only you will hear. And you might fear. You might fear, and then you will see, fear cannot take you to ascension, right? You can't run away from something and go to ascension, right? That is not ascension at all. That is not evolution at all. So fear cannot be your fundamental foundation for ascension. It is actually the opposite of it. So we need to think. So the self-introspection is very important when we are walking the path. Nobody can control us if we are aware of what we are doing. At least, see, now that energies on earth are very high, people are waking up. Before, it was not like that. Before, lots of victim mentalities used to be very high. Now, victim mentalities are slowly going down because because of light workers, and three waves of light workers have come. In the next chapter, we are seeing the second call for light workers. See, all these light workers came, and then they sort of raising the frequency of earth. So in general, overall frequencies they are trying to raise. And when that continued to happen, people started waking up in general. And then they were becoming more conscious about what was happening. Then knowledge could be taken, and they would be able to say, no, I refuse to give in to such content. I will do whatever I want. That kind of stuff came. Then people were not able to manipulate you. Then society cannot manipulate you into believing some things. Even today, when we manipulate our own children to believe some things, I'm sure even we are playing by what we believe. And because we also have our own belief systems about things have to go in a certain way only, no? But these days, children are questioning us. You can't tell them and say, God will be scared, you have to exactly do the same thing. You have to eat prasad, otherwise God will be very angry. Even today, they will tell that. So these are the collective belief systems that we all have been fearing, and we fear and we raise. I don't tell my children anything. So none of us eat prasad and all of those things because we are anyway vegans. So, I mean, we just have to allow children to grow the way, at least in that general direction, give them that soul knowledge, allow them to be their authentic self, allow them to grow. That itself will help them grow in that level. Rather than saying, oh, my traditions, they all have to learn. It doesn't really matter anymore. We are in a different phase of life. The stuff that we have to pass on to our children is more about who they are as people, who they are. They are those HTCs who are attached to this human body, and you don't have to get carried away by all of those things. You just have to be your authentic self, walk towards, like, rather be joyful all the time, try to be happy all the time. Don't get carried away by negative situations and all that. Let that take that as an experience. Accept stuff in life, learn to surrender. Those kinds of things we have to teach our children. When you learn to surrender, you're not attached to any outcome. When you're not attached to any outcome, then you're not getting carried away by those emotions. And somebody is not feeding on those emotions. There are so many earthbounds, even today, who are feeding constantly on, in general. This has become a new normal. Okay, it's not about fearing anymore. We are just getting knowledge about this right now.
About earthbounds, those are the souls who have given up the physical body, but they refuse to leave Earth and go to the next plane.
Yeah.
When do they actually leave? When their task is done here?
Typically, somebody comes and then takes them to the light. They have to convince them and then take them to the light. Somebody that they know, somebody that they recognize. So there are many light workers who do that.
And I'm going off topic now. This I heard in yesterday's class in Journey of a Soul, that if someone commits suicide, then there is no one, no helping soul that comes to invite the soul to the next plane. In such a case, that soul also becomes an earthbound soul? Or
maybe for some time they are wandering.
Okay, I'll check there. Okay.
Yeah, that they
Thank
say
you.
that only. Because
They
they'll be
say that,
trying,
okay.
they'll be trying to talk to people and all of that.
Yeah.
Right? They'll try to convince some people, like as a part of that help, they try to go talk to some people and all that. No, I don't know whether you've come to that part yet.
Well, it was mentioned usually whenever somebody dies, there are two souls that come and help. But in case of a suicide, they don't come. And then that soul is left alone or has to figure things out on its own.
There are
I'm
many
not
books
sure.
where they say that they'll come, they'll try to convince them and all that. But yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I don't know what is true and what is not true here.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Manjula?
Yes, Smita. This a thought was come when we discuss on the hybridization that 3D humans with light codes will be put into the 4D beings and 4D light codes. Like, I just came to like last 25 years, we've seen the IVF to be being born over here, right? That eggs. So suddenly thought, it was always say that none of the inventions was been invented. It is already there. They just discover at the right moment. So this thought, so this is where the IVF first comes up.
Yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right. Where did somebody just thought that they were really a genius to bring this into 3D? But it has been actually happening, and it was just that thought was planted into them. And for all you know, whoever who already did that in the 4D only came to at the 3D level as a humanoid and then continued to do.
That's what so many spiritual gurus said does not support this IVF actually. They do say,
see, you can take like this, whether it is IVF or no, there is always a greater purpose for a soul to come into a body. So I have seen that in my own case, in my own stuff and all that, right? I've seen that specifically, even when they've gone through multiple IVFs and it has failed for whatever reason, when they raise their own frequency, when people come to me and say, I need a baby or that kind of thing, I say, you forget about the baby. You focus on yourself. Babies are in line to come here. If they want, they will come. You work on yourself. So when they work on themselves, if it has to happen, it will happen. So people have rather gone through such stuff, and they've actually given birth to a healthy baby. So here, some people have gone through IVFs and it also helped them. Who knows, these days, maybe Soul is also making some plan on in that I will go through IVF. For all you know, there are methods. See, if there are such methods in 3D and they want to experience such methods, they will come, for all you know. Yeah.
And what would be the right age to start a meditation for a teens, Smita?
I think 5 years plus anybody can start meditation. See, 5 years means 5 minutes. Minimum 5 minutes if they are able to sit. Maximum 5 minutes if they are able to sit, more than enough. You can start with 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes for such 5-year-old baby, girl, child. See, you don't have to make it too complex for them. You just say, close your eyes, focus on your breath. Watch your breath,
Okay.
that's all.
Okay.
That's all. And maybe initially they'll be very distracted, they'll be very fidgety and all of that. It's okay.
Okay.
Don't even,
Okay.
if they do 5 minutes, 5 seconds also, it's okay. 10 seconds. Every day, if you're able to do that, no, over a period of time, they'll pick up.
Okay.
It is a habit, has to be built as a habit. Later on only that benefits will come. But for children, it shows up very, very quickly.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, if there are no further questions, we can close the call. Thank you very much, friends. Thank you to people who have also been on YouTube. Thank you, Anita, for those